enjoyed listening to this man over the weekend as he's calling the Western Conference Finals for ESPN Radio. Game 4 is tonight, but we're having him on mostly to go down memory lane for somebody we all love and adore and are gutted about his passing. The man who spent 12 years at the mic with Bill Walton, Dave Pasch, here on the Rich Eisen Show. My condolences, Dave.
Thanks, Rich. That picture you showed going to break really tells you what working 12 years with Bill Walton does to a man, because I had a full head of hair and it was nice and thick and dark, yes. And here I am. We look very much alike these days.
No, hey, man, listen, the brotherhood, and we're part of the brotherhood of loving Bill Walton, too. Yes. Yes. So I'll just throw you right the curveball to start. What are you thinking about right now, Dave?
Well, it's been cathartic, Rich, to spend the last 24 hours getting a chance to talk about Bill and honor his memory with the things that made Bill tick, and that was primarily making others smile and laugh. I think when you laughed along with Bill, it made his day. He didn't take life too seriously. He certainly didn't take himself too seriously. Calling a basketball game and just talking basketball was too easy for him. He enjoyed humanizing the players, talking about the mountain ranges that were nearby, promoting the school, having fun with it. And the memories will last a lifetime. He's the type of person you don't forget. And I think, too, Rich, the tributes you're seeing from guys he played with and against, they're not really basketball centric. They're more about Bill, the person. I think back to the first time I did the Pac-12 tournament with Bill. I remember a few days later, I had a sit-down interview with Steph Curry because I was doing a Warriors game, and I walk in, I sit down, and Steph looks at me, he goes, "How come you didn't answer Bill's question?" I said, "Huh?" He goes, "You wouldn't answer Bill's question." I said, "Steph, what are you talking about?" He goes, "Bill asked if you've ever been inside of a volcano while it's erupting, and you wouldn't answer." And what was funny about that is that Steph thought it was funny. Like, the players respected Bill for who he was as a player, but he made them laugh and smile just like he made us smile and laugh.
So I am mandated to ask you if you ever been in a volcano while it was erupting, Dave. Did you answer the question?
We'll leave that one for the audience.
That's right.
We can't tell all our secrets.
That's right. That's so funny. Oh man. Your first broadcast with him was where and when? When was it?
So my first broadcast with him was actually an NBA game in 2006. Although Bill always claimed he would say that never happened. But my first year on NBA, I did 5 or 6 games with Bill, and I remember LeBron James taking off his headband as a young player. We were in Chicago, and he tossed it towards the scoreboard. And I was just happy to be sitting next to Bill and happy to be doing NBA for ESPN. And Bill starts going off. It's a technical foul, and he's just going and going and going. And I'm not saying a word. And Mike Tirico calls me the next day and says, "You have to stop him. That's your job." Mike was Bill's regular partner and obviously a master at working with anybody. And I filed that away, thinking, well, at some point that'll come in handy. And it did when we were paired together when we got the Pac-12 contract, because I came to really try and understand how to stop him. And it wasn't always successful. Sometimes I would join in, but he made me a better broadcaster in that way, because, you're trained. I know you guys were talking about Cuse a little bit. You're trained in a good way to call a game a certain way. And, sometimes you're focused so much on that, you're not letting your personality come out. But when you work with Bill, you don't have a choice. Your personality better come out or it's not going to work. So Bill made me a heck of a lot better at a lot of things, and broadcasting certainly at the top.
I love that story, Dave. Not just because that also shows who Tirico is, because he does that for a lot of folks. and
100%.
But also just hearing this story, I hearken back to the days when I would do SportsCenter with Stuart Scott. Massive personality, right? Just a massive personality who would, on occasion, he would just burst into my highlights as I'm reading them, right? So I'm having a certain way of thinking about this is how I'm mapping out the highlights that I'm going to do on SportsCenter. And then that plan would just go up in smoke. when Stewart jumped in. And I realized after a while that, I had to rein it in. It was going to be my job to stop it, if you will, but not completely, but to work off of that and understand that it does enhance what I'm doing. And it was a process. It was a complete process to work with somebody with such a massive personality and mix it all together. And, I could tell as you guys evolved together, at one point you even said, I didn't know where that 2-minute long story was going, but you finished well, Bill, when he was telling a story about Danny Ainge or something like that, and how he hated backup guards.
Right.
I mean, and so I love stories like that. I really do.
Yeah, I think he said to Danny one time, the only thing worse than guards are backup guards. But and Danny's got unbelievable Bill stories. But that was the fun and the challenge, as I'm sure you had, of working with Stu, that I didn't know what to expect each night with Bill, but right. I looked forward to it because it was a new challenge. I just didn't know what was coming. We never rehearsed. I had no idea. One time he gave me a big rock because there was a player for Arizona named Stone Gettings, and he pulls out this huge boulder that he'd been hiding, and he gives it to me as a gift, and he says, "Here, get stoned."
What are you going to do? He said you go with it, right?
Yeah. What can you say? And look, can most of us get away with that? No. But when you're one of the greatest players of all time and you're known for being unique and eccentric, the rules are different. They certainly were different for Bill, and we just kind of rolled with it and had the time of our lives.
Dave Pasch here on the Rich Eisen Show, remembering Bill Walton. I also saw this morning you were throwing out for all of us to chew on some texts that he would send you. What type of text would he send you, Dave? I'll give you the floor on that one.
Yeah, I wasn't sure that I was hesitant about doing that, but then I thought, I kind of want people who have gotten to know Bill through television to see that Bill, what he's like off the air is the same. Like, first of all, he's loving and caring and thoughtful, but he can be a wise guy, and he's an all-time ball buster. And so he would, a lot of times, if I'm calling a game, not with him, he'd be watching it, and he would text me as if he didn't know I was calling the game. And so he would just say something like, "Check out this game right now. I'm not sure what channel. There's this announcer on there who's making no sense. If you have the time, check it out." Just, to bust my chops. And then I just sometimes would get random texts from him like, "I'm staying up all night right now, wondering how it is you come up with these crazy things you say. Shine on." Just, again, showing everybody his personality. And then he sometimes texts me, "I love you. I miss you. Don't tell anybody," because he loved people thinking we hated each other. He just such a wonderful guy, and I'll miss him dearly.
Yeah, we're seeing that one on the screen here. You're awesome. I miss you. By the way, you have to read it in his voice, right? When you're reading his stuff.
Oh, yeah.
"I miss you.
Yes.
I love you. I'm sorry for the grief I caused you. I just knew it had to eventually happen. I sure don't want to play them. Please, where do they get this stuff? I may never sleep again. I'm installing more solar panels." Now, that's a reference to what when he's talking about solar?
So, a couple things. So where he says, "I just knew it had to happen," because I sometimes would say, "You just knew they were going to make a run," and he hated that. Or, "You wouldn't want to play this team right now," and so he hated that too. So he would text me those things.
Okay.
And his nickname for me was Cole, and he would call himself Solar. So he would text me, "Hey, Cole," and then he would give the long list of things with the spacing in between, and he'd always sign off Solar, because in his mind, because we were very different, our worldviews very different, but had a great relationship and loved each other. But yeah, he would he kind of looked at me as somebody, "Oh, you're living in the past, and I'm all about the future," and so that's where he came up with the Cole Solar thing, and he would call me that all the time, not on the air. I think occasionally he forgot. He would never call me Dave. So occasionally he would call me Cole, but most of the time he'd just say, "What's your name again?" Or, "Who are you? Who is this? Where am I?" Yeah, like this one here where He and Lori, his wife, I think that's Albuquerque, New Mexico, actually, but he texted me the picture of Cole Avenue. He said, we're nearby. Can Dave come out and play? It is Dave, right? Oh, man.
Oh, fantastic. Now, pardon me for asking, but I don't know the answer to this question. But were you in the chair next to him when he said he was milked? That he milks cows and I've been milked. Were you in the chair for that, Dave? For that one?
I was. I believe it was Tony Parker, not the Spurs. Tony Parker was a player for UCLA a few years ago named Tony Parker, and we were talking about feeding the post. And I said something about you got to milk him in that situation. He says, I love when you talk about milk. I've been milked, that kind of thing. And people, of course, are like, what's he talking about? There was a context, but of course it's more fun to take Bill with no context. And so just him saying, I love milk. I've been milked.
No, I think we have it. Do we have it? Hit it.
I have milked a cow before, and I have been milked.
Yeah, I mean, there it is,
So ridiculous.
There was another one this year where I get it again. I did it on purpose to kind of set him up, and he said, I love when you talk about milk. The last game that he and I did together is the last time I saw him. We had dinner after, but the game was at USC on February 1st, and we're messing around. George Lucas came up somehow, and so I jokingly said to him, how did that audition for Chewbacca go? And he, of course, just went with it completely, and not only said that he auditioned for it but didn't get it, but that George Lucas fashioned the character Chewbacca in his likeness.
And that wasn't true? And that wasn't true?
Not true. We totally made it up. And and like People magazine and like all these entertainment writers are coming, like writing stories and like finding George Lucas quotes from 1978 refuting this statement, but we didn't care. Bill was like, we were just laughing, like, I can't believe they took that seriously. It was totally made up.
So you're just riffing off of stuff that's not true. Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I don't know if I burst your bubble there.
No, it's great. No, it's great. It's just, it means you're having a good time, and that's the perfect example of, obviously people are coming to watch the game. Okay, people are coming to watch the game and being told what is going on with the action. But this sort of byplay, it's so rare in our business, Dave. It really is, man. And to have somebody like Bill, have somebody like you to set him up and let him go and then rein him in, it ain't easy. And I'm sure it's not easy to talk about him in the past tense. And I saw this on your feed today, and this is the thing that really hit me, that you had a T-shirt made up that includes on the front a photo of the moment. I can't believe we haven't talked about it yet, where it was a birthday cupcake and he ate it completely off the top, including the burning candle. And then you wrote on the back, I survived 12 years with Bill Walton and all I got was this shirt. And you had this made up for him, right?
Yeah, I was going to present it to him or wear it or something in our last game, which was scheduled to be, I think it was March 9th, USC, Arizona. And obviously, Bill, the last game we did together was Feb 1, and we actually were not supposed to work together for about a few weeks. But then, obviously, Bill at that point was ill and was not working. But I still have the shirt. I just made one. Obviously, it's sad that I didn't get a chance. I did text it to him for him to see it, and he enjoyed it. Because Bill, that's what Bill liked. He liked the playfulness. He would take his headset off in the middle of games and say, keep coming at me. Don't stop. There's nothing you can say that will offend me. No matter what I say or what I do, know that I love you, but don't tell anybody.
So he would take his headset off and say to you, keep on, ribbing me or twisting the leg. Right.
Don't stop. Yeah, just he enjoyed it. It was Lionel Hollins, who he played with on the Blazers, coached in the league for a long time, would tell me sometimes, like, Bill you bring Bill back to the locker room like he's playing again, because that's how Bill was. So according to Lionel and some of his other teammates, that's how Bill was in the locker room. just messing around. So Lionel thought, and it made a lot of sense, like, because Bill will he would stretch before games. He would be drinking water and eating protein bars and all these energy chews. And he'd get up and stretch. And after the national anthem, he'd put both arms in the air and yell as loud as he could. I mean, it was like he was getting ready to play. And I guess in a way I was the competition.
Did he have a special chair with him? Because that's what he had when I was shooting that Katy Perry music video with him. He had this big, huge metal chair because his back, he couldn't sit. Did he broadcast on that chair, Dave?
Yeah, he would bring a chair when we were somewhere where he had driven, and he could bring the chair with him. Otherwise, they'd set him up and stack, 3 or 4 chairs for him, because obviously his back was in, pretty bad shape. I mean, he biked and moved around well, considering all that he had been through in his life with the feet injuries and then the major spine surgery, which basically saved his life, thanks to Jim Gray, who knew this doctor when Bill was going through a time where he couldn't move. And as Bill documented on a lot of platforms, he contemplated suicide, and he and Jim were really close, and Jim knew of a doctor that was kind of in the infancy stages of this spine surgery that Bill underwent, and basically saved his life. But still, it was really challenging for him to sit that long. And so you had to have a high chair. Yeah,
I bring it up here is also because you've been so kind to share your stories. I'll briefly share mine with you, because we were shooting a Katy Perry music video together, of all things. And there we were, and I just loved being around him. I just loved the way he talked to people, and everybody couldn't get enough of him, right? And he was so, open and giving and whatever, but he wanted to get home to his wife and wanted to beat the traffic down to San Diego, and the car that was sent for him was late. So I agreed to take him to his hotel where the car was going to, have to go back to grab his bags from the hotel and go down. I said, I'll take you. And he toddled down the street with that huge chair down Flower Street in downtown Los Angeles to my car. And we put it in the back of my car. Just the back of the car closed just in time for it to crack. And it cracked. The windshield cracked. And Bill was so upset about it. I saved the windshield, Dave.
Oh, my goodness.
I saved the windshield. It's now a keepsake. And then a few weeks later, I got a note from him. I'm holding it up right here. I don't know if you've ever seen the stationery from Bill Walton, right? Okay, so you've seen it. You see his scrawl on it, and I'll read it to you. Please, Rich, was how it started. Please, Rich, sorry to ruin your life, career, and your car all in such a brief period of time. Thank you for your kindness, patience, sense of honor, and my life. Thanks for your moral clarity, ethics, and humanity. Shine the light, be the light, Bill Walton. And he enclosed a check for $1,000, which, of course, I never cashed, but I have kept all of it together, man. That's it.
That's fantastic. That's Bill. That's Bill in a nutshell, but that's a great story.
I mean, listen, that's my only one, but I figured I'd share it with you because that's him, right? This note is him. Yeah. He was mortified the entire 20, 30-minute ride because it was downtown traffic. It was insane. Back to the hotel. Didn't stop apologizing about the windshield. I'm like, Bill, stop. I want to talk to you about all other stuff. That doesn't matter. He was just awesome. 100%.
And all that is sincere. One of the things that Bill, sometimes when Bill was going through a difficult time, and I've heard this from friends of his that knew him really well when he was going through the mental illness and the depression, 15 years ago, that, he would isolate sometimes when things didn't go well. And when UCLA left a few years ago and then the Pac-12, there were times where Bill wouldn't respond to texts or emails. And then, with the illness that Bill had been dealing with, sometimes respond, sometimes wouldn't. And I think because he felt like he was being a burden, or he was embarrassed by it. And so when he says to you, Rich, I'm so sorry, how can I make it up to you? it's sincere. He feels genuinely badly. And I think he just wants you to know that he'll keep repeating it because he feels genuinely badly about it, even though obviously it was completely accidental.
Yeah.
And he just kind of puts that on himself.
Yeah, I know. That was really just a remarkable moment. And just the one last thing just that needs to be hammered home. This guy had a stutter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the stories that he would tell and the way that we're all remembering his ability to tell stories and just be wacky or goofy. He overcame a stutter. And it's just one of the most it could be one of his most remarkable achievements. Forget, obviously, what he did on the court or as a broadcaster. The fact is he overcame a stutter. And I'm sure you probably witnessed him talk to people about that and try and help kids and other people. I'm sure you must have, Dave.
Absolutely. Yeah, Bill was incredibly charitable with his time, very involved with Challenge Athletes Foundation. But he had time for anybody that wanted to talk about any ailment that they had. And Bill, dealt with a lot. So Bill could relate and they could relate to Bill. And I mentioned earlier, Rich, the routine that he had before the game. And part of that routine was he would chew gum for about 30, 45 minutes. And one time I asked him, he never wanted to talk to me before the game. He just wanted everything to be spontaneous. And so he just wanted no interaction with me at all. But I remember asking him about it. And he said it was something, I think it was Marty Glickman that helped him get through the stuttering. And it was part of it was the chewing gum and the moving of the mouth to kind of warm it up for the broadcast.
Man. Dave, really appreciate your time, your stories, and, my condolences as you're calling a game tonight. I'm sure there'll be something, I imagine, prior to the game where the NBA will pay their respects. And let's have you back on to talk some hoops next time. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Bill was one of a kind, so honored to talk about him.
You bet. It. Right back at you. That's Dave Pasch calling tonight's game on ESPN Radio. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.